Alright, so I did a little bit more research, and also I don't think I was particularly clear yesterday. So I'm investigating the ALDA, the overboost solenoid, as well as the EGR system. I'm hoping that by disabling the EGR system, I don't have to worry about EGR gas getting in at the wrong time in this 35-year-old vehicle that has this weird, primitive, computer-controlled EGR system. So by disabling the EGR, I don't have to worry about that messing with anything and causing weird issues. It is superficial to everything else other than the fact that it's connected to the manifold, and this is a turbo vehicle, and the fact that it's connected to the intake, and this is a turbo vehicle. So if you want to remove the valve, you got to weld a plug down here on the manifold, and you have to put a plate up here. And this valve is normally closed, so as long as it is closed or clogged close, you can just disconnect the vacuum, and then you never have to worry about it. But I was also told that you should probably block it off closer to the source, just in case. So I will jam another BB over here into this guy, which seems to be on its last leg, so that's probably a good thing. Ooh, damn, that is close to going. So we'll block off that one too. The overboost solenoid, the way this works is there's a sensor right here on the manifold. And when this detects 18 psi, it grounds out this wire that runs all the way up over here, around the back of this, into this loom, all the way over here, over into this, over into the, what looks to be the glow plug fuse relay, or glow plug relay and fuse and all that shit. And it comes back out of here into one of these wires, runs up over here, and connects into it down here. And when it sees 18 psi, it triggers the solenoid, which shoots up, blocks this valve, which then shows no pressure to the ALDA, and so the ALDA stops giving it extra fuel, and you don't run into an overboost scenario where you have too high of a combustion pressure. So this doesn't, vent boost pressure. It shuts off fuel when it sees too much boost pressure, so that you don't get a whole bunch of fuel and a whole bunch of air, and then ignite it, and then overpressurize the cylinder and blow a head gasket. So I don't think this engine is ever going to see 18 psi, if I'm being honest. And plus the ALDA is basically non-functional. I'll have to test to see if it's functional, but I think someone's monkeyed with it. So that's the next thing. If that is clogged and it is not allowing air through, we'll bypass it, and that's simple. You just pull off one of these fittings, connect this line into wherever he is, one of these, wherever it went, this guy down here. You just connect these two lines together, and that just sends the pressure straight to the ALDA, and you don't have that overboost protection. But I think this guy's probably busted or not working correctly or clogged or something. I don't know. I don't have any reason to suspect that other than it's just old and everything else on this car is broken. So it's probably broken too. And if your ALDA is not functional, then this is completely useless, because if you don't have an ALDA, or your ALDA is not functioning correctly, you're never going to have enough fuel to induce an overfuel scenario, or your ALDA is going to be tampered with, and you're going to be getting too much fuel anyway, and so this won't even stop an overboost scenario, because you'll overboost before that triggers. Well, I guess it would, but anyway, I digress. If you don't have an ALDA, that's unnecessary. The other thing I got to do is I got to figure out if the ALDA is still functional. And I did figure out how to adjust this thing for more fuel, because that's probably what I need. But, and the way you do that is you simply loosen up this 10mm lock nut, and then you turn this center post counterclockwise in quarter turn increments. And then you just hammer on this thing in first from a dead standstill, and you keep giving this a quarter turn until you see black smoke come out the back. Then you back it off a quarter turn. That's at least what I read. Your mileage may vary. So I might do that. But anywho, the way the ALDA works is it's got a diaphragm in it, and when it sees pressure, it pushes that diaphragm down, which then has a little doohickey connected to it somewhere. I think it's this guy right here, which then pulls your throttle downward and gives you more fuel. Or it's this guy back in here or something. One of these does something, and it basically, independently of your throttles fuel, so that you don't have too much fuel when you don't need it. Messing with this won't give you any more power, but it'll give you more fuel in at the bottom end. But anyway, what can happen is that diaphragm can rupture. It's a metal diaphragm, I believe, so it's really hard for it to rupture, but someone can get in here and torque on this thing all the way to the left and break that diaphragm or bend it or something, and the whole thing can just get fucked. And if that's the case, you got to take it off and then just remove the diaphragm from in it, or just disable it so that the diaphragm can no longer push down on the internal rod that's underneath it, and then it will be non-functional. However, since I have a 1985 300 CD, I also have a pressure line coming off of the ALDA that runs up here to this doohickey, and that actually puts pressure in this canister. And then I think one of these is a vacuum line that runs over to the vacuum pump somewhere. Somewhere. One of these is this has vacuum and it has pressure, but what I'm more concerned about is this line right here, and this is a dampener. It kind of works like a capacitor in an electrical system. This sends a line down here, and it actually does go to the transmission, and the transmission has a pressure control on it. It's got a pressure modulator. So I'm assuming that works, that when it sees pressure or it receives boost, it knows that the engine has floored it, and so it knows to hold off on shifting until it stops seeing that pressure, or at least some of that pressure or something. I don't know how exactly it works. But all I know is I can't just I can't delete my ALDA unless I have a way to connect this line to this line in an appropriate manner, because otherwise I'm going to be getting the wrong pressure to this guy, which might fuck up my transmission. And it could be that something in here is clogged, and that's why my transmission sucks and shifts way too early, in my opinion. And is really soft and is really fucky. Is it may be something to do with this guy right here. So what I have just done, so that I can test the ALDA and I can test this switchover valve, is I have taken off this line. I'm going to simultaneously blow into it and suck into it and see if I lose pressure. If I blow into it and I can, and it takes a while for it to build pressure, then I know that it is blowing into the manifold and my switchover valve works, which is great. Because then I don't really have to mess with disabling that. And then if I clamp this off right here and I pull suction on it, and I can pull suction on it, put my thumb over it, wait, and then have suction still in there, then I know that the ALDA does not have a blown seal. At least it doesn't have a blown gasket or something. It's not leaking to atmosphere, and it's holding pressure, which is good. It's not a perfect fix. The only way you can really test that, definitively, is to disconnect this line right here from the switchover valve, and then just see if the engine drives any differently. If it doesn't drive any differently, then you know your ALDA's not doing anything. But anywho, we're going to give this a good suck, and we're going to see what happens. Well, it seems to be holding vacuum, so I'm going to blow into that and see if I can blow in the manifold, because this should have pretty big capacity, because it's going through here, going through that, through the banjo bolt, through the switchover valve, through that line, through the boost gauge, and over there into the manifold. Another thing I can do is I can pull vacuum on this, and I can leave it, and I can go look at the boost gauge. And if there's nothing on the boost gauge, then I know that switchover valve isn't working. Well, it's holding pressure, so I know the ALDA at the very least holds a seal. I'm going to pull vacuum on that, and I'm going to see if I can reach around in here, or jam this somewhere so that you can see the boost gauge. All right, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to go pull vacuum on that, and we will see if that, if we are getting vacuum to the boost gauge, because the boost gauge is ahead of the switchover valve. So if we don't get any vacuum, then we know that the switchover valve is clogged and needs to be bypassed and or cleaned. Pulling vacuum now. Do that one more time. I'm losing vacuum now, so that's interesting. Actually, I'm gonna give it a little bit of positive pressure. I can't blow too good, but I can suck pretty good, if you know what I mean. All right, I'm gonna review the footage because I couldn't see any of that, and we'll see if something spicy happened. All right, so I didn't see any movement of the boost gauge, and you see where the boost gauge is. The boost gauge is right here in line with the manifold, and so that runs up to the switchover valve and then comes out over here to the ALDA, and then this line runs up over here to this guy. So pulling vacuum on this should pull vacuum on the ALDA, but primarily on, even if this port here is plugged or something, it's still going to pull vacuum here. And even if there is a leak somewhere, that gauge should be moving, and I saw no movement at all. So if I am not getting vacuum here, then that means I am not getting vacuum on the other side of the switchover valve. And so either I am getting stopped here, or I am getting stopped here. And theoretically, this banjo bolt can get clogged full of soot and oil because it's just fucking connected straight to the goddamn, manifold. And so if your EGR is running, it can just blow crap right up in there, which will just get sucked right into that tube. But I don't see a whole heck of a lot of soot. I mean, there's soot in here, but this line is very clean. This line over here is really fucking dirty. So I'm thinking that maybe this guy is plugged full. If I'm lucky, I can pull this hose clamp off right here, pull this line off, and then I can pull vacuum on here, and I can listen if something's going on up there. So, because we know if it's coming through this, it's going to go to this. And if it's not, and if it's coming through this, then it's going to go through the valve, and then we know the valve is the problem. So I'm going to see if I can disconnect that real quick, and we will check that next. Alright, well that guy came off. The real struggle is going to be getting both of these back on. But if I blow on this and you listen, we have flow through. And if I plug this off and then give that a suck, you can see that the ALDA is holding pressure. So all of this is good somehow. And so the reason that we're losing the vacuum when I pull it is it's probably just barely seeping through there, and that guy's probably plugged solid, or it's not a perfect seal or something. But it is definitely our switchover valve that is causing the issue, because the boost gauge works, so we have pressure coming through that line, and this has flow through, and I can pull air through and I can push air through it, so that is not blocked. It's just the switchover valve, which is good. That's a simple fix. So I am going to get to investigating this and see if I can just find some some kind of vacuum line or something to stick on there without monkeying with that, and catch you then. Okay, so I just went ahead and I just pulled everything off of the switchover valve, so I don't have to do that later, and so I could just make sure whether or not I need to buy something. And it looks like these fittings are flared at one end, so I'm gonna have to go find some. I think this is like 6mm, so get some 1/4-inch vacuum. Oh, I just bought some 1/4-inch fuel line to use as vacuum hose. So I think I can actually use that with a hose clamp and get that to work. But just butt connect these two together. Just find a way that I can connect them without pinching them off. And that'll allow the manifold to just talk directly to the ALDA. And then we can see whether or not that improves our power, our bottom end power. We're not gonna gain horsepower. But we are going to, gain perceived performance in a certain, RPM band. So we will futz with that. I'm going to go check to see if that 1/4-inch fuel line fits real quick. And if not, I think I have some 3/16 fuel line. All right, so I found some 1/4-inch evap line that I just pulled out of the truck, and it actually fits perfectly over this, but it's a little undersized. It's a little bit smaller than fuel line, so none of my hose clamps work. But thankfully, I've got this 3/16 cheapo Chinese line that's got a big fat, it's not quite 3/16. It's like 7/16 internal, but that fit beautifully on here and the hose clamps work. So we have just bypassed that with about a, 7-inch thing of fuel line, and that should hopefully hold just, 15 PSI of pressure, hopefully, maybe. And if not, we'll put some beefier hose clamps on it eventually. And that will bypass that, so I think that'll actually give pressure to both the ALDA and the transmission now, which I think was probably an important thing to do, and will probably make this car drive a lot better, I hope. At least, I hope, a little bit. And also, before I forget, we are going to jam a copper BB this time into the EGR vacuum line, and that guy is just about to go, so probably good that we're blocking that off, because that's probably a vacuum leak. So anywho, EGR is blocked on both ends, so hopefully that is good. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other disabling I need to do, but I think that's it. I think everything else is independent, and it can just do whatever it wants, but as long as no vacuum gets to the EGR, we're good, so long as it's not packed full of crud and stuck open, which I'm not pulling it off to check. And yeah, now we just need to, I'm going to test the battery again, just while I'm here, just to see if we have more cold cranking amps after it got charged last night. I only ran it for like 10-15 minutes yesterday, but we'll see if that charged the battery up past 600 cold cranking amps. If it did, then we know the alternator's working. It's probably a parasitic draw or something, or maybe a bad ground. Anywho, I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so I may or may not have had a slow day at work on a Friday before the holidays, and I may or may not have spent 5 hours researching the Mercedes vacuum system and like fuel delivery system associated with Boost instead of doing anything actually remotely related to work. And I also have a recommendation for you guys. Go check out Diesel Mercedes. He's a small YouTube channel, and I think he's like Northeast European, maybe Finnish or something. But he's a professional Mercedes diesel mechanic. Yeah, mechanic. Can't speak. And he bought a complete rat's nest W123 for dirt cheap. And he's been going through and basically doing everything I need to do on this and have already done on this car. But for the most part, everything I haven't done to this car yet, he's done. So I spent like 3 hours watching his videos and learned a whole bunch of stuff that, takes a whole load off my mind and gives me a lot more confidence to work on this thing. So go check him out if you actually want to learn how to do a bunch of troubleshooting and stuff on here, and some of the other stuff I'm going to show you here in the future, because I'm just getting it from him. But he knows what the hell he's talking about because he does the stuff professionally. But anywho, he's got a very similar approach to what I'm doing, unlike Kent with Mercedes Source, who takes more of a purist approach, and he really doesn't give you any information. He comes up with a lot of good stuff, and he has a lot of novel solutions for really niche problems, but he puts everything behind a paywall. You gotta pay him big bucks to get the stuff, but the stuff he's got is pretty good. Diesel Mercedes, though, he's giving stuff away for free, but it's, just kind of like homebrew jury-rigged hacks and stuff like that I'm doing. But anywho, some of the stuff I learned has deciphered like half of this vacuum system. Here is a diagram I found for a 1985 61795, which is what I have. I think I have a 952. But anywho, this is the whole EGR system, which is like a fairly sizable chunk of all of this vacuum nightmare. And I think I'm going to go bust out the daisy and get a couple more BBs, and we're going to plug off a couple more lines. So another thing that I learned that I can plug off is this guy, number 71, the air recirculating valve, and that works in tandem with the EGR. So if you disable the EGR or remove it, you need to disconnect this too, because otherwise you're going to be limiting your turbo output. So what this guy does is when the EGR is signaled to open, this guy opens, and this essentially bleeds off like atmosphere boost that you have built with the turbo from atmosphere into the wastegate. This is not the wastegate. This is bleeding air out basically like a wastegate when the EGR is open, so that you don't get an overboost scenario because your EGR is dumping exhaust gas into the intake. And if your exhaust gases are higher pressure than your intake, you can get an overboost scenario. So when this guy opens and it dumps exhaust gas in, this guy opens and bleeds all of that precious, cold, delicious, oxygen-filled boost out into nothingness. It just wastes that boost. So if you close this off, you gotta close this off. Otherwise, this guy won't open and this guy will open and it'll just bleed off boost. So I'm going to disable that with a BB here and another BB up yonder, which is kind of redundant because I am also going to block off these two guys up here. One of these motherfuckers goes up into here and connects to this guy. That thing that I thought looked like a filter is indeed actually a filter, and that goes up in there, and then that just vents to atmosphere. So that's a bleed. And that filter's there so you don't suck dirt into it. And then simultaneously, if I can find the damn thing again, there is another one, this guy right here, that comes off of this dude guy down in here and also goes up into the dash, and it is connected to nothing. And that is another vent. So those two do nothing, so that puts my mind at ease that those two I found in there aren't doing anything at all. And I'm going to try and find these two, or this guy right here for the EGR I already blocked off. You saw me do that. I'm going to block off the AVR on both sides just to be double extra certain. And then simultaneously, I'm going to find this T-fitting and this T-fitting with this orifice on it. So probably, I think this guy, yeah. So that guy is this guy right here. So I can stuff something right into this tube right in front of that orifice and block that off. And then this guy right here is coming out of this. Yeah, this guy right here. Block that off as well. That is this, and that shows that's a 4-way there, but this shows a 3-way. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's supposed to be there's supposed to be a 3-way connected to a 4-way, and it looks like someone has removed the 3-way and has just plumbed the 4-way directly through there, but it looks all to be the same. So we will block off these two. And you don't want to shove the BB too far in there, it'll go right in the middle of the T, and then your whole vacuum system will be fucked. You'll have to fish that BB out of the middle of this fucking squid-shaped thing, which probably isn't fun. So I'm going to do that, but I also have some more information on adjusting the ALDA, and what it boils down to is, if you don't know the setting, what you can do for performance is just loosen the lock nut and then just back that screw counterclockwise until it bottoms out, until it's all the way out, and then you turn it back in a quarter of a turn, and that's a good starting point. And if you're blowing black, then you just keep turning it in until you're not blowing black. But if you just back it out all the way, it's essentially like removing it. So I'm probably going to do that just because I don't know where it is. So I'm just going to get in there and I'm going to turn it clockwise and see if it turns. And then I'm going to try and turn it counterclockwise and see how far out I can go. So I don't know, where this position's at and who the hell did it. It looks like it's pretty far out, but can't trust anyone. Yeah. So this is my only vacuum line going to any of the peripherals. So this one line right here to this fucking nightmare is feeding everything into the engine, or everything in the cab. So none of this, as far as I'm aware, is important. So if I really wanted to diagnose a vacuum problem, I could plug this off, just get a cap and stick it on there, and everything in the car would be off. That's peripheral, doesn't matter. And then all of this is EGR, but this is all emission stuff right here. So plugging this guy off and this guy off, as well as, and then this down here, this is just a vent. So plugging these two off, I have nothing going to the emissions. So I could then theoretically pull this out and all of this fucking shit and all of this over here if I really wanted to, and really clean this up. But that's a lot of work, so I'm just going to leave it. And yeah, I'm just going to appreciate the nightmarish German lookingness to it. And this is another switchover valve like this one over here, but this one controls the EGR. So I'm going to plug things. I'm going to fuck with the ALDA, and then I think I'm going to go grab the jump pack and see if I can start this thing and see if we have any different performance than we did before. I'll be really interested to see how this thing functions with the ALDA actually receiving, boost pressure. And none of the EGR, just in case I was doing something. Okay, so the ALDA actually had already been backed out all the way. But it was kind of fucky, so it may actually be busted. So I just loosened up the lock nut and I turned it in a quarter turn, just to be a little spicy. And hopefully this thing is not damaged and just slammed down on top of that thing. Or, also hopefully it wasn't, basically self-deleted. Because if it was, that means that all of the issues I'm seeing with no power whenever I have boost are not related to the ALDA. I forget if that's how that works or not, but I would much rather have, all of this that I just did to fix that actually do something instead of this thing still being gutless. And yeah, I'm going to go find some BBs and we're going to go emissions delete some stuff, and then I think we're going to test drive it. Alright, so I busted out the BBs and we have stuck a BB here. We already had one there. Stuck one there. Already had one there. And then I stuck one there and I had one, marked one there. And I just have a white paint pen and I just marked every place I put a BB so that I don't forget where I put them in case for some reason I need to undo that in the future. So, just helps me out a little bit. And Yeah, I noticed one other thing I researched, and I also noticed that I'm going to have to address, is if you look down in here, and thankfully I went and got the headlight, see that little, this guy right here, that little arm doohickey, and you see that little nut right there? When you mash the throttle all the way to the floor, just wide open throttle, that arm is supposed to hit that nut. If I pull the stop lever, you can see it touches it perfectly, dead in alignment. However, if I pull the throttle arm, I've got like a full 1/4 inch of travel. And if I just pull up on this arm over here, or I actually checked it by pressing down the pedal in the car, you can see we're not making contact. Maybe 3/16, but it needs to be addressed. I came in here with a 10mm wrench, and I pushed this bar as far this way as I could, because I figure this is rotating this way. So the farther I push that way, the more, travel I get this way. At least that's how the theory goes. I don't see how this going any further would get me anything else. So somewhere in between here and here. So somewhere up in these two guys, we're losing like 3/16 an inch of rotational travel. Yeah, also learning another thing. This sensor down here, this block temperature sensor that I didn't know what it did, that actually communicates to the computer for transmission controls. And how was that? It is this guy here. And it communicates right to a switchover valve that connects somewhere around one of these guys. This switchover valve right here. And when your engine is below 50 degrees Celsius, then that valve is closed. And when you get over 50 degrees Celsius, it opens and it sends vacuum down here to this guy. And what that basically does is when your engine's cold, you have very soft shifts. And when your engine warms up, that sends a signal over here, opens that valve, sends vacuum down to here, and then you have nice firm shifts. So that is something good to know. I didn't know that there was that much fineness in the vacuum transmission control. So the fact that I have really soft shifts while, the engine is cold might be indicative of the fact that I'm just not letting the thing get up to temp. That's only 50 degrees C, or potentially that this is plugged or has a leak in it or something. So that is something I need to look into. So I don't know how that works, but it sends the suck motion through this dampener and through this line back through this black guy down into there. So, but anywho, what I'm trying to say is it's German and it's complicated, and I'm starting to lose daylight. So I think we're gonna spray some ether in there, crank on it, give it a test drive, and see if we have a bunch of bottom end power or if nothing has happened. Hopefully something has happened. All right, so we are at a complete stop. There's the boost gauge. Got pavement right ahead of me. We're just gonna roll forward and just give it. All right. I think that's fourth. Tack isn't working anymore. Pushing 8 PSI. Nine PSI. Pedal is on the floor. Car's shaking pretty good. I don't think it did anything, honestly. It feels a little better, but I don't really think that was everything we did. Probably more the EGR cut off, but I don't think that kicks on until the engine's up to temp. It feels better, subjectively, but I don't really think it's performing any better. The transmission is better than what it was yesterday. It's back to normal. So I think hooking the transmission up to the ALDA is the only thing that helped. And I think that's all I'm feeling. Because if the ALDA was bottomed out this whole time, it basically wasn't working, which means I'm definitely not getting enough fuel if the ALDA is practically deleted. And that's all the power I got. And these brakes are barely functional. I think the brake booster has a bad seal in it. Ooh, there's some pep. That's interesting. Got a lot of pep in reverse, but not much anywhere else. So let's just get on top of this pine straw right here and just send her. Alright, I think we're in third now, or fourth. Shifted really early. It's kind of soft, but it wasn't a bad soft. It was just kind of a soft. Really wish the tack would just work instead of just not working. Like 9.5 psi, I think. The pedal is floored. Lord, I feel like I'm gonna die at any second. 65. Yeah, it's definitely better. This isn't that 30-second to 60 it was before, but I think we're still kind of in like the 25-second range. But it feels better, and I think that's more the transmission than anything. Okay, yeah, the car drives so much better. I mean, I'm just gonna hit it on this like on my sand dirt road, and it's just gonna sing. Plus, having the kickdown disconnected, I don't have to worry about pressing that, but it's got way more top end. Like, bottom end is identical, exactly the same, but the top end is much better, and the transmission is actually shifting in a very reasonable manner. Like, I'm shifting into fourth at like 25 when I slam it, but when it's cold, it's just kind of rolling in at 30, but once it's warmed up, I'm getting a nice, good, like, just slight lug and then a shift. You know, nothing crazy. It's not shuddering the car. It's not a hard shift, but there's no slip or anything. So I think it was more a vacuum issue than the transmission fluid I used. I'm still gonna replace it. I'm still gonna put the stop slip in just to try and, you know, tighten it up a little bit, because I'm pretty sure that Walmart stuff is not rated for the Mercedes. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything considering the 176,000 miles, but you never know. God, I love that. The size of that fucking toad. Look at that motherfucker. Look at him. Absolute fucking unit. Look at the size of that thing. That's a big ass toad. Look at that. Just come here. Like, look, that is a fucking huge toad. Look at that damn thing. Anyway, oh Lord, I am in awe. Alright, so I got about 3 hours this afternoon, and my mission today is to get the windows to work. And also to, you know, defog it and clean the windows and shit like that too. But first, I kind of need to get the windows to go up and down and get them all greased up before I bother cleaning them. Because if I clean them and then I'm covered in grease, well, what was the damn point? But anywho, I think for now, at the very least, I can clean the front and rear windows. And this is the selection of goos that I have available for me today. I have never used any of these products before, so I don't know whether or not they're going to work, but I have just totally cleaned, defogged, and water repellent Theseus, and my arms are fucking killing me. I need to buy like a buff pad, but anywho. So we shall see. I've used Windex before and other ammonia-based window cleaners in the past, and they work. But boy, are they a chore. You got to spray it. You got to spray it down just the right amount. Wipe the whole thing down, and then you have to get a wet paper towel. Then wipe the whole thing down. Then you have to get a bone-dry towel, and then wipe that down. Otherwise, you get streaks, and it just looks terrible. So I've used the spray away, and so far it works pretty well, but you spray it, wipe it, and then you gotta hit it with a dry cloth like immediately. But you can just keep buffing it and it'll eventually get clear. So even if you put too much or it dries too quick, you can just keep going with a cloth until it goes. So I like that. This anti-fog goes on pretty well. Doesn't seem to leave too much in the way of streaks, but you know, there is some streaking you can see here, and that's simultaneously both the anti-fog and the Rain-X. The Rain-X is leaves the most streaks of anything, the water repellent. The anti-fog, like just like this, you can just keep buffing it until it goes away, but it does kind of leave a little bit of a greasy sheen on it. But if my windows don't fog up in the middle of the night, then I think it's worth it. I don't know if the water repellent's worth it because, you know, glass is hydrophobic anyway. But once it gets shit on it, it becomes hygroscopic, and that's how you get crap stuck to your window. Perfectly clean glass will shed water. So what the repellent does is it basically kind of creates a protective coat that in and of itself sheds water, and it also keeps crap off of your window, so it sheds water better for longer. But anywho, we're gonna pull Theseus up over here, or not Theseus, old Mossy over here. We're gonna try and get inside of the front door panels, and I've got this liquid wrench chain lube for a different project, but I think it's mostly a dry lube. So we're just gonna lube the hell out of it, or if we can get to it, I'm just gonna put some lithium grease on it, and we will see if we can get the front windows going. I don't care about the rear windows at the moment. I mean, they're just kind of little quarter windows. If they stay stuck, then so what? I don't think I care. I just want the front ones to go. I can get the passenger one to roll down about halfway, which is nice, but I would really like to be able to roll the driver's side one down at least 3/4 of the way, just because, you know, I want to be able to talk to people or go order a burger, or when I inevitably get pulled over for driving an unsafe piece of shit, I can talk to the officer without opening the door and getting a mag dumped into my chest. So yeah, I'm gonna go see if I can get the thing at least fucking started over here and get a panel off. Alright, so I got a couple of things I would like to do today, but I'm probably going to have to do most of them tomorrow, mostly because I need to finish redecking my trailer, and I got to put a coat of stain on that, and I got to put some screws in it and stuff, and I need to do that quickly. But anywho, I want to get these door panels off so I can figure out what I need to do to fix this flappy guy. I think there's supposed to be some plastic clips that are probably exploded. But first, I need to get all of these chrome jobs off to be able to get the door panel off. So there's 2 screws here to get this one off. There are 3 screws here to get this one off. There is 1 screw here back behind the lock. There's supposed to be another screw here behind this door handle, but I guess this plastic thing hides it, so I'm gonna have to probably snap that off to get that off. And then there's 2 more over in here, and it's the same for both doors. And then there are plastic pop clips all the way around on these 3 sides. So you should be able to take all the screws out. Oh, and there's 2 bi-gas screws right here. So you take all them screws out, and then you just grab the bottom, and you should just be able to do that. Yeah, there's the poppy guy right there. And then you just kind of pick up and lift, and it comes out, this little clip comes out, and then you can get all up in the internals. Pretty damn easy. Probably about as easy as it is on the Jeep, except for all the tiny little fucking chrome screws. So I'm gonna do that. I also want to get this bumper reattached. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that this weekend, simply because I lack enough double back tape. The rear one is actually fine, so I'm not going to mess with that. But the front one is just all kinds of fucked. It's basically held on by the license plate doohickey right there, and that's it. And what's supposed to happen is there's this little plastic guy that runs the whole length of the chrome, and it clips into the bumper, and then you just have, basically it's kind of like engine cowling for or weather stripping, engine cowling for an outboard or weather stripping. There's just this roll of plastic bumper material that just clips onto this thing that attaches to the bumper, and you just kind of roll it in place. So what I need to do is pull all of the rubber bumper material off, and then double back tape. I just got a little bit, I only got maybe 9 inches of it left. This plastic job to the bumper, and then you can roll the bumper back on. So I would like to do that because I'm sick of having these bungee cords holding it on, because I need my bungee cords back. And another thing I want to do is I would really like this spare key I had cut to fit the rear lock, and it is not a different key, because if you look right here, I stick this in and I get nothing. I can't do jack shit with it. However, if I take the original key, it just spins with no effort at all. And I mean, that guy works in the ignition. So I can't imagine it wouldn't work back here. And I think the issue is these blanks I bought have these like wings right here. And yes, I know I'm showing you my bidding right now, so you can come over here and steal my piece of shit if you can find out where the hell I am and, you know, get it to start. I don't care. But anywho, that's a word of advice, by the way. Never show your like house key in a YouTube video or your car key, because someone can just copy the bidding if they have a really good up close photo like that and a reference of scale. Yeah, so pro tip, don't hide your keys in public, especially if you're a big YouTuber. Not that anyone important is watching this video. But anywho, I'm going to file these flat because the original key does not have those. You see? They're if anything, they taper forward, but there's just wings on the spare key I bought. So I don't know what that's about. So I'm going to file that because I think what's happening is those wings are hitting like an internal, like just the sides of the keyway, and the key's just like not going in like the last 16th or 1/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna fiddle with that real quick. Alright, so that didn't help, and actually one of these little wings on the edge of the keyway actually snapped off after I filed it, and now I have to like push it all the way into the ignition with this side facing that way. And then I gotta back it out like a 16th of an inch and then jiggle it, because those wings apparently kept it from going too deep into the ignition. But I still cannot figure out what is wrong with the trunk. I guess it's just that the tumblers in the trunk are not as worn out. So maybe that this key is worn out enough, and this one is just terribly copied. The only real difference I can see in the bidding is that there's like a sharp point on one side of this tip, and that is not the case over here. I tried putting permanent marker on this to see if I could see where the tumblers were binding on this, but that didn't work at all. It also doesn't help that this blank that I bought is brass, and the original key appears to be steel. So, yeah, probably gonna just take the other blank I have to, like, an actual locksmith or something and get him to copy it and see if I can, like, figure out what the bidding depths are for Mercedes ignitions, and like measure this and figure out what it's supposed to be, and then tell a locksmith that, because I think just taking it to Lowe's and having them just on it probably wasn't the best. Doesn't help that this is brass and this is steel, and so yeah, I don't know. But anywho, we're gonna give up on that for now because that is kind of irrelevant to everything else. However, going in the trunk did remind me that I also want to make an earnest effort to try and get the sunroof to move so I can lubricate it to then get it to work. And the way that you can manually open it is this big ass nut right here, which is on the motor that retracts the sunroof. So by turning that, you can manually open and manually close it so long as the cable doesn't snap. So I think I'm going to pop out all of this caulk I put in there and then give that a whirl and lubricate it and see if I can get the sunroof to work, or if it's just going to perpetually blow fuses. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just put it back in place and caulk it again. But now that I know that there is a, you know, at least semi-decent chance that I can, you know, shove the sunroof back into place, is great to know. But before I do that, we're going to work on the door panel. Alright, so the door panel is off. Most of the clips are just fucking gone or broken, so nothing I can really do at the moment. I'll just ignore those. I can, however, fix that guy with a little bit of, like, glue, or probably just a fucking zip tie. Who am I kidding? And it's not the horror show I was expecting. I don't know why the lock doesn't work, because this guy works. And it seems that the vacuum mechanism is free and intact. But, like, just the lock mechanism itself is fucked. Also, I can't insert the key, so I'm just going to ignore it, and I'm never going to put anything valuable in this car and then leave it unintended. The regulator doesn't appear to be broken. The motor seems to be fine. It's not super corroded. This guy looks like it's trying to escape a bit, so I think I'm going to go find a washer to put on that, because it's trying to rip the door apart. But I think the main reason why my windows don't work over here is probably this. So we are going to clean those contacts up, because that's probably 90% of the reason why the window ain't working. So yeah, just put a washer on that guy, clean up all these contacts, and then I think we're good to try and test the motor again. Oh yeah, and just spray some of this lube just everywhere. Like, I was really expecting a lot worse. That's fairly smooth. So's that, but they're bone dry. So I think we have a really good chance of this actually working. All right, well, we have something close to success. So I have sprayed the absolute hell out of everything with the chain lube. Probably should be using grease, but this is way easier to test just quickly. As you can see, I can get the window to go all the way down. And about the last 2/3 is real easy, no problem. But it's the last third, it sticks. And I think I figured it out. It really struggles, but it gets up there. I didn't mess with any of these other than I just hit it with the brush and took all the rust off. And I realized I am not getting those screws out, so I didn't even try, which is good because it's getting plenty of power. I think the issue I actually have is nothing to do with the regulator or anything in here. I think it's actually the weather stripping. I think that this, like, the metal in there that sort of holds it in place and clips it and presses it against the window has all rusted, and it has swollen, and it's now pressing on the window, because this thing would not go up the last third until I took the chain lube and I just sprayed it all the way down the weather stripping, and then now it closes. So I'm pretty confident that that weather stripping is just kaput. So I'm gonna roll this all the way down and then just get in there with like screwdrivers and a plier and just smash that stuff all the way in, because it's not doing much, you know, weather stripping right now, and you know, it's getting in the way of the window. So this is also why I did not clean the windows, because I knew I was going to have to do something stupid like this. So anywho, we do indeed have a window. We don't have any issues with the regulator or anything like that. It seems to just be like everything else with this car, something weird and niche that nobody else has ever had an issue with. So yeah, this is what I'm thinking, is that this shit right here is just being shit. And I'm wondering if, oh god, that's terrible. So yeah, I'm gonna massage that the best that I can without breaking the window. And then hopefully I can put everything back together, and then we can work on the other one. Come on, I believe in you. Yeah. Well, it'll almost mostly all the way close. It will go down though. That's not a problem. But it does not so much like the going up. And it does a mating call whenever it needs to go up. And then it sticks. Now it's stuck. But if I open the door, it's just fine. So it is definitely the door geometry that is causing a problem. Because when it's, you know, doors open, it'll close just fine. It'll go down just fine. If I can get the damn thing to close. It's a struggle. There we go. It'll go down just fine. It's the going up that it doesn't like. Pushing on the door, pulling on the door doesn't really seem to help. And I don't think it goes up all the way. No, it does. So anyway, I'll call that a win. I already cleaned the window once. I don't think we're gonna need to do defogger on account of all the oil. So let's see what this guy will do. Yeah, see, that's what that one will do normally, which is already better. But it's kind of sluggish, so I'm pretty sure it needs to be greased, and might as well get in there and look at it, making sure everything is all right. All right, and don't worry, I did remember to zip tie that together. Just 2 screw holes and a zip tie, and that actually doesn't look too terrible. All right, so this one, it seems to be in a little bit better shape. Also, it looks like the lock over here works. Not sure what's wrong with the other one, but this one didn't improve too much. Maybe it's about 25-30% smoother, but doesn't, I mean, it's Doesn't have any stutter, any hesitation anymore. Goes up all the way down. Have not tested it with the door closed. I guess I'll do that right now. Sure, I'm not gonna smack something. I don't know if that's supposed to be adjustable, this screw down here, but it was all the way into this direction and like finger tight. So I moved it all the way into that direction and then torqued it down, and it doesn't move anymore. And it seems to be, that's like the majority of why this is better. So let's see if it opens with the door shut. Pretty much about the same, but a lot more consistent, a lot smoother. Let's make sure the other one still works with the door panel on. The door panel does push up against it, so it may mean it doesn't go up with the door closed. It's struggling, but it's going. And there it goes. Not certain what I'm gonna do about that. That might be an adjustment down there. That screw I was talking about, this guy. I may be able to get in there and move the other one, or adjust. Looks like you can adjust that one as well. That's one of the tracks, so I might be able to shift all that around and get something better going. Let's see if we can do anything with the rears. Nope. Nope. Did I blow the fuses? No. Oh, that's the flashers. No, I did not blow the fuses. So alright, we will quit fucking with the windows then, because it is well, a damn night. And I'm actually gonna roll this guy down because it makes it easier to put everything back together. Well, roll it up just a little bit. Fuck it, we'll just leave it up. That's nice. Just knowing that I have those now. Alright, well, I think I'm actually going to try and do this by porch light, because beer makes you do dumb things. But I want to show you what I'm actually, having to fight against here. You see this? You see all of that water? That's dew. It did not rain. That's just what our dew point is like here. It is just fuck humid. And it's like a very, very pleasant, like 69 nice degrees out. And all this water just dumps out of the air just everywhere. And that's why it's fogging up like this. And I mean, just the hood's not dry or not wet because engine, but just look at that. Just slimy. Ugh. Oh god, paint. But anywho, we're going to apply fogger, anti-fogger, rain repellent, and clean all the windows. And I don't know if it's gonna fuck us over doing that while it's like this out, but we shall see. And I also don't know whether or not all the lube I put on this window is just going to ruin everything or not. That one's fine. I basically got no grease on it, so I should just be able to clean that. But primarily I want to get the windshield and also the rear window. Ugh. Alright, well, it appears it is a little too humid and a little too cool out for the defogger, because that's as good as I could get it. So we're going to settle for cleaning all of the insides of the windows and applying the Rain X to the windshield and the rear glass on the exterior instead. So I'm going to go back and clean all the defogger off of the inside of the driver's side windows and the windshield. And I'll tell you right now, cleaning the inside of a windshield is like number 4 or 5 on the bottom of the things I hate doing the most. I don't know what it is about cleaning windshields, but it just always seems, you just smack your hand into every single fucking thing, and you knock your mirror out of the way, you break something off the dash, and it always seems that you leave streaks no matter how hard you try and how many times you go back over it. I just fucking hate it. So I'm going to do it for the 3rd time tonight on this one windshield, and then come back and do it 2 more times tomorrow. Great. Alright, well, I Windexed all the windows. Well, I cleaned everything, inside and outside. Then I rain-xed, repellented the whole exterior. Raccoon keeps trying to get in the bird feeder while I'm out here, and I keep having to run him off. It's cheeky little fucker. He's gonna end up in the soup if he don't watch out. But yeah. Alright, so I just took her for a rip. Having the windows down is awesome. I pretty much had to run the wipers the whole time, just keep the fog off the window though, but it was pretty much crystal clear. Brake light came on. Don't know why it's on, because the e-brake is up and the brake pedal is up, but it came on, so that's interesting. But I also noticed something else interesting. See, right now I'm stationary, I'm in park. I floor it, you know, sounds normal. Or if I turn the lights on and I turn the brights on and then I roll one of the windows down and then I floor it, hear that? Let's try the sticky window. Yeah. Alternator is putting a lot of load on the engine. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, I got that sucker pretty damn tight, but I guess I may have to get it a little bit tighter. I don't have the easy way to tension it, so yeah, I'll probably just ignore it. Well, it's raining this morning and it's supposed to rain all day, so don't know if we'll be able to defog it, but it looks like it's still going to be warm enough. Yeah, a rain-x seems to be kind of working. So anywho, I'm gonna quit gabbing because it's supposed to rain more and I'm just standing here flapping my gums. I think actually, before I get too far, I'm gonna go grab the big ass like 20 amp rated extension cord, and I'm gonna see if the block heater works or if I blow the breaker or the car catches on fire. Because I'm interested to see if that actually works. It should, because it's literally just two cables hooked to the block. With like a resistor in the coolant, but we shall see. Alright, so I got the big boy extension cord out, and I probably shouldn't be testing this in the rain on, you know, 70-year-old wiring with no grounds on a non-GFCI breaker that's only like 15 amp rated, but you only live once. That's why I have the fire extinguisher and the hood open, so that if I see all the factory smoke coming out, I can nix that real quick. So we're gonna plug this in and we're gonna see if it works or if I just like instantly pop a breaker. Yeah, I'm never going to use it practically, but I just like to know that it works. So yeah. Alright, so those wires have seen much better days, so definitely not going to be using this regularly. Yeah, but we will see if the smoke comes out real quick, I guess. So far so good. I don't see or smell any smoke. Could have just instantly popped the breaker for all I know. That wire just runs right there, just to the side of the block, and there's just basically one wire hooked to the block and one wire hooked to what basically is a giant resistor. It's like a little tiny micro self-contained like space heater basically. And it just boils the coolant, pretty much. And that warms your block up, and then you don't need to rely on your glow plugs. So you can just plug the car in and just let it sit for like 5 hours. So I don't plan on letting this sit for 5 hours in the rain today. Plus it's like 70 degrees out, so it's kind of pointless. But I just wanted to make sure that like it didn't catch fire. So I'll let it run for like 5-10 minutes. I'm just going to lower the hood down because the rain is coming back. And we'll just leave the Jeep fire extinguisher right where it is. Because Jeep has fuel issues, so I carry a fire extinguisher. So that, you know, at least I don't die in the flaming husk, or I can at least save the motor. But anywho, well, that's it. And then I'll come back and unplug it. And then I'll check the side of the block and see if it's warm. Actually, what I can do is I can hop in and turn the key and see if it reads anything on the temp gauge. But temp gauge starts at like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, so probably not going to see anything because I don't think 10 minutes is going to put, you know, 30 degrees heat into like a 1,000-pound block with like 2 gallons coolant in it. But That scared the hell out of me. Alright, well, two things. That put the fear of God in me, so I just unplugged it right then and there, and I went inside and we hadn't blown a breaker. So that's good. Also, it's a 20 amp breaker, so probably wouldn't have blown anyway. Alright, well, I think I got the windshield. It's a little bit foggy still. Just me being in the car for 5 minutes was enough to start fogging it up. Oddly, the, driver's side door is not really doing it. Passenger is a little bit. The back is the worst. I think there's still a little bit of anti-fog on both of these. Quarters don't seem to be doing it either, so I think I will just attempt to do those again. However, one thing I am going to do, if I can manage not to get diesel on my phone, or drop this into the dirt, is put some more diesel in the tank, because we're on fumes now, and I gotta run and get gas at some point this week anyway, so I might as well get diesel too. So we'll huck another 5 gallons in here. And maybe we'll get a little bit more power. Maybe it needs that ambient, downward pressure to help get fuel through the strainer. Maybe the ticket is just never run this thing. Try another cleaner that potentially can dissolve the sludge, and then just never run her below 4 gallons. So that's kind of a solution. All right, well, I went and worked on air compressor regulator for a little bit, and it looks like the rain has calmed the fuck down. I think with everything being calmed the fuck down, we can open these doors and then get in here and defog everything now. All right, well, that appears to be working. I just got the back to do. I've got some tips for you. Using this stuff on 3 cars now, it actually seems to prefer you only put it on in one direction, which is strange because, with the cleaners and stuff, it's best if you do a circular pattern and then you wipe one directional to remove it. This stuff, it seems to work best if you apply it in a back and forth manner and then wipe it free in a back and forth manner. And don't go across the grain, and definitely do not do a circular pattern. It seems that if you do a circular pattern, it just fucks it all up. So I'm not certain why that is, but if you just do the laziest possible motion like that and then come back with a clean, because I've got a wet cloth and then a clean semi-dry cloth, and you just come back over and you go like that, it doesn't leave any streaks and it goes on great. But if you do a swirl pattern, it seems to leave patches of unfoggedness as well as haze in there. So just don't swirl, because I swirled over here and you can see some of the swirlage still on the window, just a little bit. So just start out and just do all the perimeter just to make sure you get it, and then just come back and just do a zigzag, and then just come back and then just wipe the perimeter and then do a zigzag, and you're good. And as long as the window's clean and you keep your cleaning cloth clean, it works. I mean, look at this. I know you can't really see that, but that's all the fog it left, was just a couple little drops, and that's with my disgusting hot halitosis breath on it, which can peel paint. So anyway, I'm going to do the back window, and maybe, just maybe, we will be unfogged. Alright, now, so before I get seat covers, I need to do something about this floppy guy, because he keeps popping up into my lap like that, and it scares the fuck out of me. I think there's a weasel in the car. And yeah, so I'm just gonna sew that to the seat. I'm not gonna go crazy, but I'm just gonna tie it here and maybe here, and just put that guy back down, just so it stays where it's supposed to be. This guy over here, yeah, I'm gonna do the same over here as well, because I'm gonna get car seat covers, and we're just going to never clean these seats. Oh god, how did I make that worse? Because I feel if I clean the seats, every single piece of leather will come off. So yeah, I'm just going to just put enough thread on here just to hold things in place. We're not even going to worry about those. The rears are still fine enough, except for the disintegrated leather back there. I do not know what I'm going to do about that, honestly. But anywho, I'll figure that out when I get to it. But I'm just going to reattach those just so they stay where they are and they're not like this under the seat cover. Plus I have to sew the seat and Theseus again for 4th time, so might as well. Alright, well, that's as sewed as it's gonna get. It's enough to, hang on with a seat cover over it. I'm back to wondering about this Romex line that's in here. Because, I don't know about you, but considering all the Germanness in this car, I don't think they would have just laid, like, a cable just sort of haphazardly like that. So I'm curious where the hell that goes. So I'm going to go look in the trunk real quick. See if I can figure it out. Is it for like a trickle charger or something like that? I mean, I have never seen where it comes back out. Well, there it goes. Oh, it's just like cut off. What the fuck is this wire for? Well, that's just a mysterious wire right there. And there's some kind of self-tapered something going on up in here. Yeah, so they're just like dirty dangling. Oh, here's another one. Oh, yep, and there's another one of those fuckers. Well, I never. Well, anywho, maybe some of our mystery electrical issues are just these like hot wires just like dangling in the wind back here. I'm going to try and unravel some of this, and then I'm going to get some electrical tape and just tape off all of this. Alright, so we have unraveled this mystery a little bit. This appears to be like a fused just ground line right here. Just bolted right there to the frame. And then this is that phone line that's running to the passenger seat. This is, I'm fairly certain, the Romex that is running from the fuse box underneath the driver's seat. And then we have this mystery guy, which is like, I don't know, like 16 gauge wire or something. And I mean, this ain't wimpy stuff either. It's probably 18 gauge there or something. But I think I am going to like separate all three of these lines and then tape them off, and then tape off that one individually, and then this isn't connected to anything, so I think if I pull hard enough I can get that coming underneath the floorboard. And this is just ground wire, so we'll just leave that. Extended capabilities, you know, we'll just tuck her down underneath here. Alright, well, these guys have been taped up. I split this apart into three, and then I individually taped up each, and then I taped them all together just in case. I don't know if like one side is grounded or something like that. I'm being extra careful that nothing accidentally shorts itself out, because this is a non-standard mystery thing. So if I don't take care of it right now, I may never remember that it's there. And you know, just it's always best to just execute gremlins with 100% prejudice whenever possible. Also, I pulled out the phone line. There's like 15 foot of the stuff. So, but yeah, that's all that one was, so that is gone. Keeping the ground there, having a fused ground just back here in the trunk is very convenient. And I think this one, I don't know what it is, some huge gauge wire. I don't know where it's running. I'll go look underneath the engine bay, but I don't see any place where it's coming from. And also, I haven't taken the speaker out yet, but there's no wires going into that speaker right there. That one has two wires running into it. If you look over there, see, it's got a brown and like a gray and green, and this one has nothing. So I have a feeling that's why that speaker doesn't work. I should probably take that out and give it a look-see and see if I can figure out what's going on with this thing. I will do that whenever it starts raining, because I got to do something right now that requires it to not be raining, and it's about to be raining. All right, well, speaker's out, and it is indeed plugged in, and they're actually Infinities, and these look like they're aftermarket, if you ask me. I feel like 1985 they wouldn't have been putting like hexagons and shit. That seems like a 2000s thing. Anywho, that's weird. That's weird if those are original, but speaker looks fine. See, Infinity River. Alright, I can pull up all that shit off there. Serial number's melted, but that guy looks good. So I guess I'm gonna pull this other one. I don't think I can see anything down in there. Well, not with my head. Also, every time I touch this brown thing back here, it does that to my arm. So I'm trying not to do that. Definitely need the seat cover. Don't know how to get the rear. I don't think I can get the rear out. I know I can get the seats out. I don't know how I can get this out. I don't really want to try. But it's interesting. I wonder why the sound system sucks so much ass. I bet it's probably just micage back behind there. I'll have to replace that stereo at some point. Not looking forward to that. But the speaker looks good, so I don't think I need to worry about the speaker. Plus it's plugged in, so I don't know why I can't see that wire, whatever. Alright, so this one is also an Infinity. And I'm pretty certain these are aftermarket because there's 4 holes on this speaker. And there's 3 holes on this. And knowing Germans, they would have never, ever, ever done that. They would have never designed a car to do that. Plus this is a, you know, US company and it's made in China. Again, wouldn't expect Germans to buy a US product made in China. So I'm pretty certain these have been replaced. It's also good to know that these look good, so any issues I'm having with the sound system is probably the radio and the grounds and not actually the speaker in any way, shape, and form. So that is nice. I'm just going to stick this right back in there. Good to know I'm not going to have to buy speakers, hopefully. I'm going to go check the front and see if they're also Infinities, because that would be fucking dope. Alright, well the front are the same Infinities, and it looks like someone has, like, ground off one side. It looks like, because they're the same model, but they have seen many better days, because this guy is toast, at the very least. I mean, just, the contacts back here broke off when I took it out, so, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if they're supposed to be like that or not, or if this will even still function, but yeah, I'm just going to tuck that back in there. But we know that that one is at least foobar. I mean, I think the diaphragm is still actually intact. It's just that the fancy, you know, hexagonal, like, skin has popped off. So, yeah, we'll just tuck you back down in there, and we'll pretend we never saw that. That sound good to you? Sounds good to me. Alright, and just to be extra certain, same story over here. So Infinities all the way around. This one is in better shape than the driver's side, though. So now, I think probably it's just this, like, fade potentiometer over here in the center console that's probably causing most of the problems. Because that sucker, like, you touch it and all the speakers go out, and then you touch it the right way and then all the speakers come back on. So I have a feeling that it's just like, also these are definitely aftermarket because the thing is just sitting on top of the speakers, so I don't know why someone replaced these, whether it was just to, you know, be Gucci, or if something catastrophic happened to the sound system. But yeah, all I know is that the radio's been replaced and all the speakers have been replaced. So, but it looks like this one is still functional, although really, really crusty. So, yeah, may only need to get one. I guess if I'm gonna buy one, you usually buy them in a set, so probably just gonna do the front. But I think this guy is kind of like fucked. So I'm wondering if I can figure out a way that I can just like bypass this and just not have fade and just have, you know, full volume to front and rear all the time. So I'm gonna look into that real quick and probably wire nut some stuff together. Alright, so I pulled this guy out again and I pulled this guy out for the first time, and I have cleaned it as best as I can. There's not really much to clean, so probably just this unit's bad and I'll have to grab another. But we're gonna roll the key over and see if the radio will come on. And if it will, then see if we can make something happen. If the radio will come on. Alright, well I can't get the radio to turn on now, so I guess that's foobar. Also, the defogger is not defogging as well as I would like it to. So that's great. I guess we'll just go drive it around and see if we can get this brake light to shut off. I don't know why this thing is on, but it's driving me crazy. Yeah, that's the e-brake light. So something, just gremlins. With what we were able to do with the vacuum system and just having the windows being able to go down, it feels like an actual car. Like, I feel like I can just drive this. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm going to die anymore. It's awesome. And it's more or less just being able to roll the windows down. Alright. Probably shouldn't one-hand this thing over 55 if possible. It does not like going over 55. Oh man. I think we're on the home stretch, unless I just jinxed it. Also, having like more than 2 gallons of gas in the fuel tank also seems to really help with the fuel delivery. Like the power just seems so much better. Oh man. I'm just enjoying myself. Just it has now been, Lord, probably 20 months since I first laid eyes on this thing and decided I wanted to do something with it. 21 months. And finally driving it through my procrastination and this car's, you know, just desire to fight me tooth and nail. We're finally getting close to actually having a car. Oh God. I love it. Tax still don't work though. Alright, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode, old Mossy. We're finally starting to look like a car that I can drive somewhere and not feel like I'm going to have to put it in a ditch every 30 seconds. So that's great. If you like what I'm doing here, go down there, like the video, comment if you saw something that I unintentionally did that was horribly wrong and made your butthole pucker. If you saw something that I intentionally did that caused your butthole to pucker, just keep it to yourself. But if you think I overlooked something, then, you know, please let me know. I don't want to die in a car fire unless I set the car on fire. Anywho, and if you want to see the rest of this series, go down there, smash that subscribe button, and until next time, I'm out.